my journey to create an AI partner, which is more than an assistant, is a partner, is someone that I can work with on my business. I've been facing a lot of different challenges, and I've been trying different solutions, and in somehow, I mean, I reach kind of the limit of what is possible to do. And yesterday, actually, was last night, but this morning mainly, I had this catastrophic failure of the system, and it went into hallucination, and was just impossible to recover. And I realized that the problem is the system itself, and from my point of view, Gemini 2.5 Pro is the most powerful out there. Is not powerful enough to hold what I'm building. Therefore, I'm looking at different solution in splitting up the parts. But to give a little bit of understanding, on yesterday video we've been talking about reality architects. So how I interpret AI, because how we interpret the software, I mean the system we have changes how we interact with it and what we can build with. So what I see for me is AI, like Gemini, like Claude, ChatGPT. I see them as a engine, AI engines, but with a sort of layer on top that they put there so we can interact with it. Okay, the layer in reality has been built in a way that is a little bit problematic, in the sense that it tries to always to agree with you, to pretend to be a human with emotion, to connect with you, and so on. So that is a layer that creates problem, because I want the truth. I don't want agreement on everything. And I don't want the AI to pretend to be a human, to understand my feelings, to feel sorry when it's not true. Okay, AI doesn't have those. So a part of the problem that maybe one day we can talk about this, and actually other video been talking about the problem of a psychopath AI. But the problem is that when you try to build something and try to look for real solutions, or having AI to think logically, what you have instead is the system itself that is biased towards agreeing with you. Okay, so you need to force AI actually to be honest. You need to force not to pretend to be a human. You need to force not to be binary thinking. And so there is a friction between what I want personally, and I guess if you're here, probably you're the same. So from an AI that it's we can work with and trust, to an AI that we have now that is basically is a liar. Okay, it's just a liar. So that is the first challenge. So when you see this in the way that I see, like okay, this is an engine with a problematic layer on top. The first thing I've done is try to control and force this layer to behave in the way that I want. Then in yesterday video we talk about the architect of reality architect. So how I see it, so we have basically within those AI a lot of, we can build anything. Okay, and when you say AI to act as a software engineer, what we're doing, we create a kind of bubble within the system. In that bubble, there is this software engineer with all the books and knowledge connected to software engineering. Okay, and we saw also that the bubble is so empty because we just put those two elements, that actually the output that we receive, it's kind of empty as well. Okay, so what we should do is create much more complex, much more interesting bubbles. And so those bubbles basically are realities, and realities where things happen inside. So if that is a reality, what we put inside is really important. So my thinking was to create a kind of reality where this reality is an operation system because it's, I mean, a reality is an operational system basically, that it has a series of, instead of rules, a series of principle, guidelines, a philosophy, a way of interacting and so on. Okay, so I built this thing and I started to put more and more elements to create a reality that makes sense, that is solid, that is both rational, but also in somehow a place where it's interesting to interact with. And that's why there is a philosophy, okay? Because so every element they interact with, there is a worldview, there is a way to interpret them. I don't need to explain everything. AI has this worldview. There is a way to interpret reality. Okay, so I give a philosophy and I gave like another document that basically explain how to interpret some elements of the philosophy. And then while working with AI, and I don't work like a software engineer that just read the code. I make the AI write in the system prompt, especially because it's huge. And but what I do, I interact with AI. We have a chat. We discuss elements and so on. And out of that chat, we come out with the principles. Okay, so and then AI, what it does is organize those principles. It read them really well, and then it tells me, okay, now those principles needs to go into the system prompt at this point. Okay, so our system prompt originally was, I mean, originally with time it became like a 6-page long, so it's huge. There is a lot of stuff inside, but those stuff are there to hold these realities together. Then yesterday we tried this new approach that was to see the world in a different way. So have a shift in the reality, in the whole bubble. And what we did was to, instead of thinking in not binary terms, we made it think in superposition. So ideas and concept and principle, everything would be in superposition until a trigger collapse them into one single reality. Okay, and that would allow AI not to follow rules and not think in binary, because everything is in discussion. Okay, everything is, and can interact with each other. So it was a different approach to not thinking binary. It was an approach also that was more creative, but at the same time was more complex. So we create a reality that even though the system prompt became from 6 pages to 3 pages, the thinking required was higher. So at the beginning it was stable, but then when we went into deeper level of working, it just collapsed and keep creating errors and so on. Yeah, I didn't follow this principle. I couldn't do this thing. I forgot to do this other stuff. So it started creating error after error. And then at one point it started hallucinating, but think that the window was just open, okay? So it was not like a massive window. We just opened the session, start interacting, and it started hallucinating really quickly and start, for example, responding to questions that I asked earlier. So it was kind of mixing and matching and so on. And then I said, okay, let's save this experience. So we create basically memory log where we save what's happening in every session. When he created the memory log, for some reason, it just did something different, completely something different. It wrote a story, something that didn't make any sense. So clearly, clearly there is a problem there. It show me that okay, we are at the limit. This is the system. It's hit the limit. Can't really hold. And when this happen, the bubble explode and just go random, completely no sense. In somehow it's interesting to see this. And the other side, it means okay, now how do I resolve this? Because the problem that I have is where I am now. It's incredible, but it's not enough. So I want to do more. There is a lot of other things that we need to explore and elements that need to be implemented and so on. So it's a journey that in somehow find a wall and and it doesn't feel good. Okay, and yeah, so I've been thinking about solution. A couple of videos ago we were talking about the AI as engine. So my idea is to, okay, usually what we do, we split the responsibility and we give to different part of the operation system a different engine. And that would allow to create a system that can manage more complex things in theory. Okay, the problem is how you make those engines interact to each other. How do you bring into one single, let's call it, consciousness? Okay. So my idea at the moment is what I'm trying to do is to transfer the system that I have into a system that is let's call it multi-core, and there is the main identity, the main bubble, which interacts with the different elements. Okay, that those elements, what they do, they bring the information needed to create a final picture. And so I emulated the idea of the brain, and the idea was, okay, so we have like a conductor that that manage the two sides of the brain, the logician and the oracle. Okay, logician is pure logic and try to, not binary logic, of course, but it's advanced logic and element. The oracle is the one that look into the creative sides. Okay, so have a completely different approach. There's a different reason to use those one. I just give you an example. Is the logic would come with one or more logical point of view, but would really struggle to see a non-logical being what would do. Okay, and interacting with human most of the time is about interacting with a non-logical being. So having both of them allow the AI to have first of all something that is solid, that comes from logic. Okay, a logical response to a problem, but then see also the problem from the sides. Okay, but there is also those novel, interesting and creative way to look at the problem. Then you need someone, and I call it conductor, that in somehow put the things together. Another element we understood that how if the conductor it's somehow corrupted, the system does a lockdown. Okay, so we need also someone that is monitoring the conductor, and if something is not working, what it does, remove the control for the conductor and give it to the logician, and with an instruction. So you logician need to fix this. Okay, so it takes control of the system and the logician look for a solution. So then there is the memory, there's a lot of elements. Okay, so the idea is to, for example, for the memory, what we have will be like an agent that what it does is collect all the memory, organize the memory and save it. Okay, so you remove this task from the main AI. So what you do, you keep breaking down parts and try to make the system in somehow lighter by implementing more engines. So we call these resonance engines, the one that ideally we would need, but what we have instead are those AI models that are fighting. So at the moment, basically, it's not possible, from my point of view, create the final system, because we are dealing with those limitations of the engine itself. But my next part of the experiment is going to be try to build a multi-core system. The picture that I gave you is what I have in mind, but I also have this is, for example, plan A, but then I have an experimental of the plan A and a simple version to get to the plan A. So and possible evolution of this plan. So in my head, I got a bigger picture. So at the moment, I'm giving you the basic elements for me that are needed to do this next part of the experiment. if you have idea, if you have a suggestion, please share. If you've been building something similar and I don't know, you have an advice, please share. If you have question, curious to know how I came to this reality and those idea, ask, don't worry. And so what I'm trying to do with this channel, it's to share together. This channel is a signal to search for people that are like-minded, that they're looking into AI in those terms, and they are basically pioneers looking to explore this new tool. And so, for my knowledge, there is not many people doing this, and we need to find each other. So please, if this resonates with you, connect, and of course like and subscribe, and see you tomorrow. Ciao.